Okay, as part of our Unmissable in Sport podcast series, we're joined today by Charlotte Edwards, cricket royalty. It even says that on Wikipedia. We want to talk today about your foundation a little bit and also how you got into cricket. So maybe that's a great start. Why cricket?
Well, I had a dad that played cricket, an older brother, and we lived on a potato farm. So that all in made it absolute no-brainer for me to play some cricket. Like I say, Dad played at the local cricket club. We spent our weekends down there, and I was the only girl. Played all boys cricket through age group, and got picked for Huntingdon when I was 12 for the under-19s team. And really, my life changed from then. Cricket wasn't necessarily a sport for girls at that point, but I think what I'm proud to say now is cricket is very much a sort of a sport for girls, and I've been very proud of, I guess, watching it over the years and how the game's progressed.
I mean, that's incredible. You have a different generation of female cricketers now, many of which never have to, well, they still have to play with the boys at very early ages, but obviously once they get into under 11s and beyond, they can play with. And I know, having a daughter as well, she doesn't really like playing with the boys. I mean, you must have been a certain type of character to deal with that.
Yeah, and that's what's sort of so pleasing now, is that I think I played with a number of girls that didn't like playing with boys. It was quite intimidating. It wasn't for them, but I guess I'm not saying I'm really enjoyed playing the lads, because at times it was really hard. It was, a lot of people didn't want me to play. A lot of people sniggered every time I walked out onto the pitch. I just knew I had to sort of push all that aside, because I loved the game and I wanted to hopefully play at the highest level.
Yeah, and I mean, there are trailblazers in female sport. In rugby, the story is exactly the same. Football, and even more intimidating for them in a way, where it's a more physical game. So I have to go and play with a bunch of boys at under 9s, under 11s. But do you think that personality and being out and playing against the boys in a way sort of prepared you for when you have to go places like Australia, where, intimidating opposition, the crowd? Do you think that kind of got you ready for it all?
I think it prepared me more than anything to play international cricket, because everything I faced from sort of an 8-year-old up until I was 16 was tough. Every time I walked out onto pitch, I was being judged. Was I good enough? It was a girl. Should I be playing? Should I not be playing? And it was really tough. And I don't look back on those sort of times like massively fondly, but it toughened me up. But again, like I said, I loved the game. I wanted to play cricket, and that was my avenue into the game. So it certainly had some positives in terms of it, like you say, preparing me for playing at the highest level.
Do you have to avoid that? You don't know what it's like to some of these younger players who've had it slightly easier, or do you kind of just avoid all those kind of conversations?
I try and avoid it, because I think it's really difficult to compare. I think I just feel extremely lucky now that a young girl has the opportunity to play cricket with girls. They don't have any barriers to play the game, and it's completely an inclusive game now, which I couldn't have said that when I was growing up. So I think the game and society's come a long way in that time. So I think I think we're all very lucky now that the game's accepted, and now there's a career in women's cricket.
Absolutely, and some of them are getting paid a lot of money now in the IPL, and of course you've now got Hampshire and the whole change of the structure in the UK, which the ECB have been a big part of. Where do you see that going in the next kind of 5-10 years?
Well, it's moved really quickly in the last 5 years. I think to think now that there's fully sort of professional cricket at domestic level, I think is so great for the game. As you mentioned, around the 100, that's done an enormous amount for women's cricket. The money now on offer for these young girls and older girls, to be fair, it's amazing, really. And sometimes I have to pinch myself, when you're watching these auctions and you see the amount of money. And I paid for my first blazer, which I'll show you later. But yeah, it's incredible. But it's it's the, I guess, the ECB have really really backed the game and invested massively in it, and I think that's something we should all be very proud of.
Yeah, and in Buds, we're very passionate about this. We just had a women in sport auction. We again looking at football and looking at rugby, because they're, particularly football, but rugby sort of catching up. They're being transformed in their own right. Our job now is to get the memorabilia out to male, female collectors. You see the stadiums, they're full now, people watching these games, and get them as excited about the jerseys the girls are wearing in the way that, old sports fans would have done it with the guys. So, we'd love to see much more of that. And And talking about that, so your foundation and memorabilia, but first about the foundation, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I set up the foundation about sort of 12 months ago now. And I guess I think I had a few experiences post-playing that I went to America, I went to a number of countries, and I saw that cricket probably wasn't quite as advanced for females as I'd like it to be, and the opportunities weren't there. So, ultimately, in terms of the foundation, I just want every girl globally to have the opportunity to play cricket, have really, really good coaching, even mentors, because it's not always about the playing, it's about being involved in the game, which I think is so important. And also the facilities, having good facilities to be able to do that, and equipment. So part of the Charlotte Edwards Foundation is about being able to get to those players, provide opportunities for them. Recently we've had tours going on in New Zealand. There's a group coming over to England this summer. So we're very much in our infancy, but I think the passion from me is to provide those opportunities for any girl who wants to play cricket.
Fantastic. And I mean, using your platform, because there isn't really anybody with the best perspective in the world, with your profile over the last 20-25 years in the game, to say, I've done it. Let's give a better opportunity to the next group of players coming through.
Well, yeah, and I think I think that's the thing for me is I've been so lucky to be able to play this game and get so much from this game, and I just want other people to, I guess, experience the things that I've experienced, not necessarily at the international level, but I think just playing cricket's taught me so much, and I'm so grateful that I've had so much time in the game, and I feel like it's my time to give back.
Back is fantastic. I said to you, I've got a 16-year-old daughter, though, avid cricketer, and I umpire a lot of their games. And I've got to say, I'm going to get some stick for this, but it's far easier umpiring girls' cricket than boys' cricket. And they congratulate each other, they hug each other. There's fierce competition, but there's a camaraderie as well. And I think probably a bit of that comes from that we are still a minority in this game. Does it still feel like that to you and to your players, or are they so focused and professional that doesn't even sort of permeate them?
No, I think the game's moved forward so much. You talk about my first experience as a game, and now I think about young girls coming into the sport. I think it does feel very much accepted, that we're part of the game. It's normalised. Cricket's normalised now through boys and girls playing the game. I think here at the Utility Bowl, you can walk in here and a young boy will come up and know who you are, and they're just as excited to see a Lauren Bell than they are a James Finch, which is so great. And I think that's how we've moved the sport forward in a short amount of time, and I think hopefully the future looks really bright for the sport.
Brilliant. Well, I've got to ask you about the best moments in your career. I know you've probably been asked some of these things 100 times, but I'd be interested domestically, sort of highlights for you as a player, and also internationally. So, what are your sort of standout moments?
I think internationally, winning 2 World Cups. I think 2009 was a really, really special year for us as a group, to win a ODI World Cup in Australia, and then to come back here and win the 2009 World Cup at Lords. I think will always be probably one of the most special memories. I think any Ashes series you're part of is obviously up there. 2014 out in Australia was always a highlight for me. And I think now going into coaching, domestic cricket is professional. I've won a lot of trophies down here with the Southern Vipers, it was, and the Southern Brave, the 100 team. So, I've been so fortunate to have obviously had a long playing career, and now still be in the game, loving the game probably more than I've ever loved it.
Wow.
And now I've got the greatest honour of coaching England, which I think I could have only dreamt of that as a 12-year-old coming into the game.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Now, the Aussies have had the hex on us a little bit in recent times. And I know you can't give any secrets away with the World Cup coming up, but, why do you think they've been so successful in the last decade or so? And how are we going to kind of counteract that during the World Cup?
They're an amazing sports team. I mean, I think, to think the success they've had over that, like you say, that sort of decade of really dominating women's cricket, I think is purely down to the setup over there. I think they've got a really good setup, and I think we've now got one to match that. So we're a few years behind them. So I'm hopefully in the next 3 or 4 years, we can knock them off their perch. But, it's going to take a lot because, they've got a lot of depth. They've got some great young talent over there. But I'm really, really confident with the structure we've got now that we can obviously, hopefully do really well.
And they're fierce, aren't they? I mean, even playing amateur cricket against the Aussies back in my Hong Kong days, I mean, they're just fierce. And it's having that same mentality, I guess, isn't it, when you're up against it?
Yeah, I always loved playing against Australia. It always felt like the pinnacle as a player. You knew if you did well against Australia, you'd done really well. Yeah. So any run felt like, double against them, and, every contest you had with them, you knew you were in a battle. And I think that's how, international sport or any sport should be played, and played really hard on the field. But as soon as you cross the white line, I've got some great friends, which I think that's the wonderful thing about sport and playing for as long as I did. I've got some wonderful friends across the world, and some of them are Aussies. So that probably, says a lot.
So we've talked about the foundation. Tell me about the logo.
Yeah, the logo actually means quite a lot to me. I think I lost my dad when I was 25. He never saw me play cricket for England, and obviously it was a big part of me, sort of, and why I played the game. And he loved sunflowers, so we kind of put all the cricket bats round and put it into a sunflower shape.
Great idea. I hadn't even realised they're cricket bats. That's amazing.
So it's beautiful, and it's something that obviously is close to me, and obviously it's close to my heart there. So and I know he'd be really proud of what I've done, but equally setting this up and obviously hopefully trying to sort of support as many young girls to play the game as we possibly can.
That's amazing. So everyone will know the logo forever now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've got some of your things here, and some of the younger viewers won't believe that you actually used to play cricket like this. So tell us about that.
Right, well, this is the first skirt I played cricket for England in. Made my debut in 1996 at Guildford. And this was the last game I played for England in a skirt, because after that game, they actually put us into trousers, which thank God they did. But yeah, we used to pay for these skirts. We had long socks, some good photos of me in this, but I don't miss the skirts. They look lovely, but they weren't really that practical, if I'm honest. Oh, here we go.
Next up, blazer. Look at the logo. Well, again, you have to talk about this logo and about the blazer.
So this was the first test match I played for England, the first time I played for England. We turned up in Guildford, and I had to pay £50 for this blazer, which was pretty special. Considering now the players I played to play cricket now, we had to pay £50. My first ever England blazer. It was the actual Women's Cricket Association then, so not the ECB. So we played under the umbrella of, and in 1998 we joined with the ECB. So I feel like these two items are, well, not many people have got them, and they're two things that I do really cherish, because it was obviously my first
As
game.
you should, and it's sort of they're historic in a way that it talks about the evolution of the game, not only the way they look, but also the fact that you had to pay for them. Yeah, it's just crazy.
And that's what the mad thing, and this is what I always say, and I think all the players know my story now, that I paid for my blazer and all my kit for my first test match, but that's how far the game's come in that amount of years. I mean, it's 30 years now, and we're now fully professional, and the game's on the rise.
Right, look at that. Love that. Come on then, tell us about the jersey.
Yeah, this is the first World Cup I played in 1997. As you can see, it wasn't a female fit then. It was quite a large, with just Edwards on the back, no number. Yeah, probably wasn't as they are now, the fabric you probably should be playing in those conditions, but it meant the world to me. This was my first World Cup shirt. Probably could have picked a slightly better design, but I think this is one of the first coloured clothings they played in, because obviously we played it up in whites until probably 96. So again, another really important
cherished.
Really cherished.
And how many of them are knocking around? I mean,
there aren't many of these shirts, so let me tell you, these weren't on the market. I don't think anyone could buy them, so I doubt there's many of these shirts around, and I've managed to keep it, and it still looks pretty good.
It looks in pretty good nick. Yeah, you could put it on and go and have a run around. Oh, I love the case. Okay, tell us about that.
So this is my medal from the 2009 World Cup at Lords. Yeah, I mean, obviously, probably, off the back of, as I said earlier, we won the 2009 World Cup in Australia, and then we came back to London and did the same. So it was, probably one up there as one of the most special days. I think a lot of the players had their friends and family at Lords, a home of cricket, and to win a World Cup, it's like what dreams are made of, really. So really treasured sort of bit of memorabilia.
Amazing. And I'm, having watched cricket myself, 50 plus years now, showing my age. I think for women's cricket, that was almost, to me, watching it as a turning of the dial in a way, where that sort of beginning of professionalism, women being on the map in cricket in the UK. Would you see it the same way?
Yeah, definitely. I think 2005 we saw a shift when we won the Ashes and, the open top bus ride around London. But I think that moment, like you say, the dial was turned, I think, and to have it was a double header World Cup, so the men played after us.
Yep.
It felt like a really significant moment in women's cricket, and obviously for us to win at home, was a massive deal, and I think certainly something I'll never forget.
It was a crazy summer.
Yeah,
I remember it very, very well. Peterson staggering around in the garden of number 10 and all
That's right.
all that sort of stuff. I want to talk about some of the places you've played cricket now, because certainly that also talks to where women's cricket was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So these days you get to play at amazing venues. Talk to me about some of the places where you played for England that people would be amazed to think, really?
Yeah, we've played at some definitely some sort of smaller venues, as I should say. But I mean, even putting on the English shirt, it didn't matter where we played. But I remember playing a game at Truro Cricket Club in Cornwall, so that was definitely a long way from here. But like you say now, all the games are played at international venues. I think this is a ground really close to my heart, the Utilita Bowl here down in Southampton. Won the Ashes here in 2013. So yeah, really, really special ground. And I've worked here for the last sort of 8 years, building sort of women's cricket up here, and I've absolutely loved it. And it's a beautiful ground, and obviously played here with the Vipers and the Southern Brave in the 100. So yeah, really special ground, and obviously don't live too far away as well, which is always nice.
Okay, talking more about the foundation, could you tell us about somebody that's a young person that's come through the foundation is making their way in cricket?
Yeah, there's actually someone locally to here, actually, Georgina Wilson. She was actually on the sort of Hampshire pathway, and she recently went on the tour to New Zealand, got coached by a number of ex-internationals out there, which was fantastic. Coached by Joanna Broadbent, who coached the team out in New Zealand. It was a wonderful experience, and I've known her since she was very young, and to give her that experience of going, abroad, I think, those are life-changing experiences, and to do it through cricket is something that, I'm really, really pleased about.
Fantastic. And so a couple more things on the foundation to finish up. So I guess most memorable thing of all those things that you've done so far, what's the sort of standout thing for you?
I think that the recent tour to New Zealand, to go on a call, I was actually away at the time on a training camp with England, and to be put on that Zoom call and see those players on that call and their faces, to see the excitement, the fact that some people have never left their countries to go and play or travel or play cricket. So it was a really special moment. Obviously the first of anything's always special, but I'm really proud of that, and I'm looking forward to playing with them all this summer. I'm actually going to get my boots out, not my skirt, but I'm going to play this summer. I haven't played for a few years, but looking forward to the team that's travelling over this summer to play some cricket with them as well.
Amazing.
Great.
Fantastic. And final thing really, and this is a really tough one, but if you project forward the foundation 5-10 years, and what would sort of success look like for you? What would be those sort of dream things you could do with it in the next few years?
I think reaching as many countries as we possibly can through the foundation, giving anyone from any background the opportunity to play, and I think that would give me real satisfaction. I think we've got some wonderful opportunities coming up with the sort of Olympics. I think that's another springboard event for I think the foundation, and I'm really looking forward to seeing us giving so many girls the opportunity to I guess, like I say, achieve and do things that I managed to do throughout my career.
Amazing. Well, Charlotte, thank you very much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.